to the 9 great sages who created the population of the world. Text 22 and 23. Marichaye kalam pradhanasuyamathatre Shraddhamangirase achat Pulasyaya havirbhuvam Pulahaya gatim yuktam Pratavesha kriyam satim Yatim cha brigave achat Vasisthaya pyarundhatim. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Kardama Muni handed over his daughter Kala to Marichi and another daughter Anasuya to Atri. He delivered Shraddha to Angira and Havirbhu to Pulasya. He delivered Gati to Pulaha, the chaste Kriya to Kratu, Khyati to Bhrigu, and Arundhati to Vasishtha. Text number 24, we will chant this together. Atharvani, no, even 24 doesn't appear. 25, 26. Okay. So this also I'll chant by myself. 24 and 25. 26 we will chant together. Atharvane rachantim yaya yajno vitanyate viprarshabhan krutodvahan sadaran samalayat. Translation by the Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. He delivered Shanti to Atharva. Because of Shanti, sacrificial ceremonies are well performed. Thus, he got the foremost Brahmanas married and he maintained them along with their wives. Text 25. Tatastarshaya kshattaha kritadara nimantretam pratishtan nandim apannaha tvansam mandalam. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Thus married, the sages took leave of Kardama and departed full of joy, each for his own hermitage, O Vidura. Text number 26. This is what we will chant together. Sa cha avatirnam triyugam sachaavatirnam triyugam sachaavatirnam triyugam ajnaya vibudarshabam ajnaya vibudarshabam ajnaya vibudarshabam vivikta upasangamya pranamya samabhashata sachavatirnam triyugam ajnaya vibudarshabam vivikta upasangamya pranamya samabhashata sachavatirnam triyugam ajnaya vibudarshabam vivikta upasangamya pranamya samabhashata. Saha, the sage Kardama, Cha, and Avatirnam, descended, Triyugam, Vishnu, Ajnaya, having understood, Vibhuda Rishabham, the chief of the demigods, Vivikte, in a secluded place, Upasangamya, having approached, Pranamya, offering obeisances, Samabhashata, he spoke. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. When Kardama Muni understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chief of all the demigods, Vishnu, had descended, Kardama approached him in a secluded place, offered obeisances, and spoke as follows. Kindly repeat. When Kardama Muni understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chief of all the demigods, Vishnu, had descended, Kardama approached him in a secluded place, offered obeisances, and spoke as follows. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Vishnu is called Tri-Yuga. He appears in three yugas, Satya, Treta, and Dwapara. But in Kali Yuga, he does not appear. From the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, however, we understand that he appears garbed as a devotee in Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya is that devotee. Krishna appeared in the form of a devotee, but although he never disclosed himself, Rupa Goswami could understand his identity, for the Lord cannot hide himself from a pure devotee. Rupa Goswami detected him when he offered his first obeisances to Lord Chaitanya. He knew that Lord Chaitanya was Krishna himself, and therefore offered his obeisances with the following words. I offer my respects to Krishna, who has now appeared as Lord Chaitanya. This is also confirmed in the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. In Kali Yuga, he does not appear directly. He does not directly appear, but he appears as a devotee. Vishnu, therefore, is known as Tri-Yuga. Another explanation of Tri-Yuga is that he has three pairs of divine attributes, namely power and affluence, piety and renown, and wisdom and dispassion. According to Sridhara Swami, his three pairs of opulences are complete riches and complete strength, complete fame and complete beauty, and complete wisdom and complete renunciation. There are different interpretations of Tri-Yuga, but it is accepted by all learned scholars that Tri-Yuga means Vishnu. When Kardama Muni understood that his son Kapila was Vishnu himself, he wanted to offer his obeisances. Therefore, when Kapila was alone, he offered his respects and expressed his mind as follows. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanachalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prethaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे Sri Gurum Deenataranam. 5,000 years ago, when Lord Krishna was manifesting his pastimes on this earth, Krishna lived as a king in Dwaraka. He had 16,000 palaces, 16,000 queens, and Dwaraka was extremely opulent, having been built by Vishwakarma himself. The description of Dwaraka city is given in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. The roads, junctions were all made not of concrete or paver blocks or asphalt like it is today, but it was made of valuable jewels, pearls, opals and things like that. That is what used to be on the roads. You can imagine then the opulence of Dwaraka. And inside the palace, to light up the palace, they did not have LED lights like today, or they did not have flamed torches. They had valuable jewels like Vaidurya, which would reflect the sunshine and give off light into the palace corridors and rooms. So the valuable jewels which today may not even be available And even if they are available, they will cost such a fortune that even the richest man on the planet cannot afford. Those kind of jewels were used as torches. So you can imagine the opulence of Dwaraka. So the Lord Krishna, having married 16,000 queens, was living in each of these palaces independently with each of his queens. So although there were 16,000 queens, it is not that one queen would meet Krishna one day and her next turn will come after 16,000 days. Not like that. Krishna was simultaneously present in each of the 16,000 palaces and he was carrying out his pastimes in each of those palaces. Every day, the Lord would wake up in the morning, early in the morning, as soon as before the sun rises, dawn, at the time of dawn, when the cocks would crow, at that time, the Lord would wake up from his bedstead, which would be very, very luxurious and opulent. And the queens would all be embracing Krishna, but Krishna would not mind. Now the time has come to get up, Brahma Muhurta time, he would wake up. And the queens would all be cursing the sunrise, that why is the sun rising? We were embracing our Supreme Lord so nicely, but the Lord is getting up and going away now. But the Lord Krishna was always detached. And he would get up early in the morning, right on time. He would take his bath, perform yajnas, and he would meditate. But of course, unlike our meditation, when we meditate, we are supposed to meditate upon the form of the Paramatma within the heart. Krishna is Paramatma himself. So what will he meditate upon? He was meditating upon himself. And then he would give away cows in charity, gold in charity to all qualified Brahmanas. And then morning he would set out to the assembly. And when he would come to the assembly, all the 16,000 forms of Krishna will merge into one Krishna and he would enter the assembly hall. And there all the Yadava kings would come, Ugrasena would come, Vasudeva would come, Akrura would come, Kritavarma would come, all the Yadava kings, they would all assemble in the assembly hall, and the rest of the day they will be discussing various plans for the welfare of the citizens. And like this, the Yadavas enjoyed the company of Krishna. And evening, Krishna would again come back, and when he would come back, that one Krishna will again divide into 16,000 forms, enter into each palace, and he would receive the service from each of his queens. Such wonderful pastimes the Lord was displaying, was exhibiting in Dwaraka. Narada Muni became very eager to witness personally these wonderful pastimes of Krishna like an ordinary two-handed human being. Because the Supreme Lord, who is situated in the spiritual world, he has no reason to come down to this material world. And when he comes down, his activities, exactly like those of an ordinary two-handed human being, are bewildering even to Narayana. This is very wonderful. So, to witness the amazing pastimes of the Supreme Lord, almost resembling that of an ordinary two-handed human being, Narada Muni became very eager. And he came to Dwaraka and he stayed for several days in Dwaraka to witness the pastimes of Krishna. One of the days when Narada Muni was in Dwaraka, he went to the house of Vasudeva. Vasudeva was living in a separate palace with his own queens. Narada Muni went to meet him. When Narada Muni went to meet him, Vasudeva received him very nicely. And then Vasudeva questioned him that what are the duties of a person to please the Supreme Lord in devotional service. Vasudeva actually, he is the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is already in the highest devotional platform. But being the humble person he was, he took on the role of an ordinary human being. And not only that, out of great love for Krishna, he didn't realize that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is not my son, he is the Uttama Purusha, he is the Purushottama. He is the Supreme Absolute Truth. Because Krishna wanted to engage in activities in pastimes of Vatsalya Rasa with Vasudeva, the Yoga Maya was covering Vasudeva's knowledge. And so Vasudeva thought, I am an ordinary Grihastha. I have a son, nice, very beautiful, wonderful son I have, Krishna. And I am caught up in so many family affairs. How to get liberated from this material world. So this was Vasudeva's thinking, and he put forth this question to Narada Muni, that what is the duty of a person, of a householder especially, to be performed in order to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narada Muni, when he heard this, he took this as an opportunity that Vasudeva was asking this question so that ordinary people could benefit from the reply. And what reply did Narada Muni give? Narada Muni referred a conversation which had happened between, similar conversation which had happened between some other personalities long ago. What had happened, what Narada Muni described, what had happened, Rishabhadeva had 100 sons. King Rishabhadeva had 100 sons, and this King Rishabhadeva was also another incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God. Out of Rishabhadeva's many sons, some sons became kings, Kshatriyas, some of them became Brahmanas, 9 of them became great yogis. They came to be known as Nava-yogendras. These Nava-yogendras were traversing the earth, and once upon a time, while roaming like this, because yogis are like that, they do not stay in one place, they go from place to place, preaching the message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so that ordinary conditioned souls can benefit from it. The Nava-yogendras were like this, traversing the earth, and they came upon a place where a king by the name King Nimi or King Videha, he was performing a yajna. Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki. This King Nimi was performing the yajna, and the moment he saw the Nava-yogendras, he understood that these are not ordinary personalities. They were very bright, effulgent, and by their countenance he could make out that they are all great rishis. He received them very nicely and put forth the similar kind of questions what Vasudeva had asked Narada Muni. These Nava-yogendras then began instructing King Nimi, which is described in the 11th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So when they were instructing King Nimi was asking questions and they were replying. One of the questions that King Nimi or King Videha, he asked the Nava-yogendras was, in the different yugas, what are the incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What are their forms? What are their colors? And how are they served? How are they worshipped in those respective yugas? In response to this question of King Nimi, Karabhajana Muni, one of the 9 Nava-yogendras, he described that in Satya Yuga, what is the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He is Shukla, white in color, and he would execute, and the way to worship the Supreme Lord in Satya Yuga was by the performance of different kinds of austerities. By severe austerities, he was worshipped. Then in Treta Yuga, he assumed a reddish color. Shuklo Raktaha. He assumed a reddish color. And he was worshipped in Treta Yuga by the performance of great yajnas. And then in Dwapara Yuga, the Supreme Lord assumed a blackish complexion, Syama. And the way to worship him was with great opulence, like a great king. So with kingly opulence to worship the Lord was the Yuga Dharma during Dwapara Yuga. And each of the yugas, there are different mantras to be chanted to glorify the particular Yuga Avatara. Then when it came to Kali Yuga, the Muni, Karabhajana Muni, one of the Nava-yogendra, he described in 3 verses the incarnation for Kali Yuga and a description of his activities and how he is worshipped. So the first of those 3 verses is a very famous verse. All of you are aware. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopanga Sruparshadam Yajnaihi Sankirtanaihi Prayer Yajantihi Samedasaha. That the incarnation in Kali Yuga will be Krishna Varnam. he will be constantly describing Krishna. And Tvisha Akrishnam, his complexion will be golden. And further, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangasra Parshadam. He will descend into this earthly planet along with all his associates, along with his close associates, along with his confidential associates, he will incarnate. And what will he do? What will be his activity? Because originally King Nimi's question was, what will be their color? What will be their activities? How are they? What will be their form? So therefore, all this description was given by Karabhajan. And so about his activities, he said, Yajnaihi Sankirtanaihi Praye. So he will, this incarnation in Kali Yuga, will inaugurate the Sankirtana Yajna. Kirtana means to sing the glories of Krishna. Sankirtana means in a group, in a large group, we get together and together we glorify Krishna. So this is called a Sankirtana. And so this incarnation in Kali Yuga, he will inaugurate the Sankirtana Yajna. Sankirtana Yajnaihi Yajantihi Sumedasaha. And the intelligent people of Kali Yuga, they will worship the Supreme Lord through the process of Sankirtana Yajna. Different yugas, different ways to worship the Supreme Lord. In Kali Yuga, the way to worship the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is through the process of Sankirtana Yajna. And then further, Karabhajana Muni said, Dhyeyam sada paribhavagnam abhishtadoham tirthaspadam shiva virinchinutam saranyam Bhrityartiham, what is that? Bhrityartiham pranatapala, bhavabdipotam, vande mahapurushate charanara vindam. So he said that this incarnation in Kali Yuga is dhyeyam sada, he should be constantly meditated upon. He is paribhavagnam, he removes all the embarrassments of this material world for his devotees. Abhishtadoham, and he rewards all the spiritual desires of his devotees. And not only that, tirthaspadam, he is the shelter of all holy places and of all great sages. Tirthaspadam Shiva Virinchanutam, and this incarnation of Kali Yuga is worshipped even by Lord Shiva and by Brahma. Shiva Virinchanutam Sharanyam, and he is the only person worthy of taking shelter in Kali Yuga. And not only that, for all the devatas, this Supreme Lord, he is Bhrityartiham, he removes the distresses of all the devatas. Bhritya means his servants. Who are the servants of the Supreme Lord? They are the demigods. So for all the demigods, Bhrityartiham, he removes all the arti, all the distresses. Bhrityartiham ham pranatapala, and he protects all of them. Because the demigods always take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And bhavabdi potam, potam means boat. And bhava abdi, abdi means ocean. And bhavabdi means the ocean of repeated birth and death. So, this incarnation in Kali Yuga becomes the boat to cross over the ocean of repeated birth and death. Vande mahapurushate charanarvindam. That incarnation in Kali Yuga is the Mahapurusha. Purusha refers to Vishnu, the incarnation, the three Purusha avatars. Kshirodaka Sai Vishnu, Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, Karanodaka Sai Vishnu, they are all known as Purusha avatars. They are all Purushas. This incarnation is not a Purusha, he has not emanated from Vishnu. He is Mahapurusha. Vande Mahapurushate Charanarabindam. He is Krishna himself. And not only that, so what are his activities? Tyaktva Sudustyajam Surayaksita Rajya Lakshmi Dharmishta Aryavajasa Yadagadharanyam Maya Mrgam Dayitayetsita Manvadhavat Vande Mahapurushate Charanarabindam. This Mahapurusha, what did he do? Tyaktva Sudustyajam Surayaksita Rajya Lakshmi, goddess of fortune Lakshmi Devi, is constantly sought after by even the great demigods. Sura Ipsita. Sura means demigods, and Ipsita, it is their desire to achieve the favor of Lakshmi Devi. So even that Lakshmi Devi, who is desired for even by great demigods, Tyaktva Sudastijam, that it is impossible to give up Sudastijam, it is impossible to give up the favor of Lakshmi Devi for even great devatas. So what did this Mahapurusha do? Tyaktva, he gave up that Lakshmi Devi, who is the most difficult to give up. And Dharmishta, and he rigidly followed the principles of Dharma. Dharmishta Arya Vachasa, by the curse of a Brahmana, Yadagad Aranyam, he went to the forest, means he took up sannyas. When Mahaprabhu used to engage in Sankirtan in the house of Srivas Thakur, he used to close the doors of the house so that unauthorized people could not gain access. So there was a Brahmana in Navadvipa who was not a real devotee of Vishnu, but externally he used to show himself as a devotee. When he heard that Mahaprabhu like this is performing Sankirtan in the house of Srivas Thakur, he came there and he wanted to also enter into the pastimes of Sankirtana of the Supreme Lord. But because he was not qualified, he was not allowed inside, and he found that the door is locked. And so therefore, he became very angry and he cursed this Nimai. He is closed the door and not allowing me inside. For this, I am cursing him. He will never be able to enjoy in this material world. Taking that curse of the Brahmana, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave up. He gave up his family life and took sannyas. Dharmishta Arya Vachasaya Dagad Aranyam. And after taking sannyas, what did he do? Maya Mragam Dayita Yepsidam Anvadhavat. He ran after the conditioned souls who are all bewildered by Maya. He wanted to liberate them from this material world. The Jivas are not interested in moksha, in liberation from the material world. But this Mahapurusha is so loving towards his part and parcel Jivatmas that he instead ran after them that I want to liberate all of you. So Vande Mahapurusha-te Charanaravindam. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances to that Mahapurusha. The question that arises is, Tyaktva Sudastyajam. Who is that incarnation who has taken sannyas? Dattatreya was a yogi. Narayana Rishi of Naranarayana Rishi, the fame of the Naranarayana Rishi fame, that Narayana was a brahmachari. None of them took sannyas. It is only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who took sannyas. Even in the Mahabharata it is described. Sannyasa krityamah shanto nishta shanti parayanaha. A very peaceful incarnation of the Supreme Lord will take sannyas. Why peaceful? Because all other incarnations engage in samhara. They kill somebody or the other. Whereas Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never took up any weapons. So therefore, Shanto Nishtaha Shanti Parayana. He is always very peaceful. Now the question arises that how do we, although Karavajana Muni has vividly described the complexion, the activities, the characteristics of the incarnation of Kali Yuga, still there is some doubt about whether Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that personality. Why? Because the Supreme Lord is described as Tri Yuga in the Vedas. Tri Yuga means he incarnates in 3 yugas. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga. He does not incarnate in Kali Yuga. Therefore, he is known as Tri Yuga. Therefore, to explain this further, to clarify this even further in greater detail, Prabhupada refers to the prayers by Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. After Hiranyakashipu was vanquished by Narasimha Dev, Prahlad Maharaj offered wonderful prayers to Lord Narasimha Deva in order to pacify him. One of the prayers that Prahlad Maharaj offered to Narasimha Dev was Itham Nritirya Grishideva Jashavatare Lokan Vibhavayasi Jagat Pratipa Hamsi Jagat Pratipa. So he said, "O my Lord, you incarnate in various forms, Nr as a human being, like Krishna or Lord Rama. They came like two-handed human forms they took. The Lord incarnates like a two-handed human being, Nr, Tiryak. He also incarnates in the forms of animals, like the boar incarnation, Varahadev. Nr, Tiryak, Rishi, and he incarnated as a Rishi, like Parasurama. So, Nrit, Tiryak, Rishi, Deva, Jashavatara. As a Deva, as a Devata also he incarnates. And Jasha means he incarnates even as an aquatic. The Lord incarnated as a tortoise, Kurmavatara, Meenavatara as a fish. These are all aquatics. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, you incarnate in so many forms, like a human being, like a Devata, like an animal, like an aquatic. So all these different kinds of forms you undertake. Why do you incarnate like this in different forms? Because Lokan Vibhavasi, to protect this material universe. To protect from whom? Hamsi Jagat Pratipan, from the Asuras who have revolted against you, who do not accept you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to vanquish them and protect the material universe from the influence of these kind of Asuric people, demoniac people. The Lord incarnates in various forms. And further, Prahlad Maharaj says that Dhritirya Rishideva Jashavatarai Lokan Vibhavayasi Jagat Pratipan Dharmam Mahapurusha Pasi Yugana Vrittam. So, and like this, you incarnate in various forms. Dharmam, O Mahapurusha, Dharmam Pasi, you protect Dharma. Yugana Vrittam, according to the different yugas, whatever Dharma has to be followed, you protect that. And further, in the last line of this verse, Prahlad Maharaj makes it very clear. Channaha kalau yadabhavastri yugo atasatvam. And therefore, and although you incarnate in various forms for the sake of protection of Dharma, for the sake of protecting these three worlds, and to annihilate the demoniac principles, although you do this, but in Kali Yuga, Channaha kalau, you come you come in a mysterious form. You come in a form which is covered, such that people do not recognize you as the Supreme Lord. Why did he say this? Channaha kalau yadabhavas. Why? Because in every avatara, every incarnation, when the Supreme Lord appears, he emphatically declares himself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all the rishis and devatas also know, even the devatas know, that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is an avatara. Everyone knows. But in Kali Yuga, nobody knows that he is the avatara except for highly advanced pure devotees. Like Prabhupada explains in the purport, Rupa Goswami, when he went and surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he recognized that this is not an ordinary person, he is the Mahapurusha. And therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called Mahaprabhu, because he is the Mahapurusha avatara. And although that Mahaprabhu has incarnated, still Channaha, he never declared himself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And whenever any of his devotees, followers would refer to him, that are you not the same Supreme Personality of Godhead described in the Vedic scriptures? Immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would close his ears and say, Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. What is this aparadha that you are doing by comparing me to the Supreme Lord? Why? Because in Kali Yuga, there are many people who will claim that they are the Supreme Lord. Many people will claim that they are God. Mahaprabhu wanted to set an example that no one can declare himself as the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Channaha Kalau, in Kali Yuga, he is a covered incarnation. He is not openly described, openly known. He is not openly declared himself to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Channaha Kalau Yadabhavha Triyugo Athasatvam. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, you are known as Triyugaha. You are the person who appears in three yugas openly, but in Kali Yuga, you are covered. You are a covered incarnation. And so therefore, when here the Srimad-Bhagavatam is describing that the personality of Kapila Deva, who had incarnated as the son of Kardama Muni, was Triyugaha, means that he is an incarnation of Vishnu himself. And of course, Prabhupada also explains another meaning of Triyuga. Yuga means all the yugas, like Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, that is also called a yuga. Another meaning of yuga means a combination of two things. So he is a person who possesses three combinations of tools. That means he possesses three sets of dual opulences. Some personalities, they say that the three pairs of divine attributes are power and affluence, virya and aishwarya, piety and renown, that is fame and piety, and complete riches and and wisdom and dispassion, meaning wisdom, knowledge, jnana and vairagya. Sridhar Swami has a little difference, complete riches and complete strength, we know that. As Parashara Muni has described, Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yasya sahasriyoho jnana vairagyasya shannam bhagamiti ingana. So Sridhar Swami takes those opulences and lists them as complete riches and complete strength, complete fame and complete beauty, complete wisdom and complete renunciation. These three pairs of divine attributes, one who possesses in complete, is called the Triyuga, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the personality who has appeared to Kardama Muni as the son of Kardama Muni and Devahuti is not an ordinary conditioned soul. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, incarnated in order to explain the process of devotional service to himself. This is how we have to understand. And Kardama Muni is understanding that his son is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not by his own speculation, but by the revelation of his father, who is none other than Lord Brahma himself. This is the way to recognize an incarnation, a bona fide incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has to be identified to be so by a great personality who is a great Acharya. Ordinary people, ordinary conditioned souls like us, we cannot determine who is an avatar of Krishna and who is not. It is only an authorized Acharya who can declare that this is an incarnation of Krishna. And all great Vaishnava Acharyas in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya have declared that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Triyuga Avatara, who is Channaha Kalau Yadabhavas Triyugo Tasatvam. He is the Kaliyuga Avatara who has come in a concealed form in order to distribute devotional service of himself. This is how we have to understand the word Triyuga. So I will stop here. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss. Yes, please. Guru Maharaj. Yes. Kalki appears at the junction of Kaliyuga and Satyuga. So he inaugurates the next Satyuga. That way, technically, because he is coming at the end of Kaliyuga, finishing Kaliyuga and inaugurating Satyuga, you cannot call him a Yuga Avatara. That's number one. Number two is Buddha, because he decried the Vedas, he did not accept the Vedas. He is therefore not really counted as an incarnation, number one. Number two, also we have to understand is Buddha is a Shaktya-Vesha incarnation. He is a Jiva who has been empowered to act in a particular way to be able to reject the Vedas. So, he is not a direct incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is a Shaktya-Vesha incarnation. Over and above that, what we have to understand is that every Yuga, there are Yuga avatars, but the avatars in that Yuga are not limited to that Yuga avatara. The avatars in a particular Yuga are unlimited. There are unlimited incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are lead avatars, there are Shaktya-Vesha avatars, there are multiple kinds of avatars are there. So, it's not that in a particular Yuga only one kind of Yuga avatara is there. So only one Yuga Avatara will be there and there will be no other Avatara. It is not like that. So in a given Yuga, there may be multiple Avataras possible. Just like in Treta Yuga, it is mentioned that the personality of Godhead who incarnated in Treta Yuga is reddish in color. Shuklo Raktaha Raktaha. He is reddish in color. He is four-handed and he teaches the process of performing yajnas. So this is not Lord Rama. Lord Rama also incarnated in Treta Yuga. Lord Rama was greenish in color. His complexion was greenish. He was not reddish. Therefore, and he was two-handed. He was not four-handed. Therefore, Lord Ramachandra is a Leela Avatara. The Yuga Avatara is different personality. He is Yajnesa. Therefore, we have to understand that when we are referring to Yuga Avataras, it refers to specific personalities whose activities have to correspond to that particular Yuga Avatar. In Kali Yuga, the Yuga Avatara, as described by Karabhajana Muni, his activity is Yajnaihi Sankirtanaihi Praya. He will inaugurate the Sankirtana Yajna. Lord Buddha did not inaugurate the Sankirtana Yajna. Therefore, he is not a Yuga Avatara. He is a Satyavadesha Avatara in Kali Yuga. But he is not the Yuga Avatara. Means the Avatara meant to propagate the Yuga Dharma of that Yuga is called the Yuga Avatara. In Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma of the living entities is to perform Sankirtana Yajna. And that was propagated, that was inaugurated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, he is the Kali Yuga Avatara. He is the Yuga Avatara for Kali Yuga. That is how we have to understand. Yes, please. Yes. Who are the Yuga Avataras? So, in the Bhagavatam, as it is mentioned in the 11th canto, as I mentioned, in Satyuga, he is Shukla, he is white in complexion, and he is four-handed, and he propagates austerities, tapasyas. His name is not mentioned. In Dwapara Yuga, in Treta Yuga, his name is Yajnesha, or Yajna. That is another name for him. And he is four-handed in form and he is reddish in color and he will propagate the performance of yajnas. So that's how it is explained. And in Kali Yuga and in Dwapara Yuga, of course, he is blackish in complexion. It is Krishna himself. Because when Krishna appears, there is no need for any other avatara. He himself becomes the Yuga Avatara also. Krishna comes to perform his pastimes. But when he is coming anyway, he will, along with that, he will perform the Yuga Dharma also, he will propagate. So that is how we understand. Is that okay? Yes, please. Lord Rama, yes, he is the Leela Avatara. I mentioned that already. Nama Prabhu, yeah. He is also the Lord incarnates in Kali Yuga as the holy name. You can consider it as a Leela Avatara also. He performs the Leela of liberating all the most unqualified and fallen souls of Kali Yuga. That is his Leela in his form as the holy name. That is how. And he kills all the demoniac propensities within the heart simply by entering our ears. Through the process of entering our ears, if we hear the holy name attentively, then the Lord will enter our heart and destroy all the demoniac propensities within our heart. These are all his Leelas. And he bestows Krishna Prema upon us. Yeah, there are descriptions given in the Shastras. The Hare Krishna mantra is Kalisantarna Upanishad very clearly states Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Iti Shodashaka Nam Kali Kalmashanashanam. This Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Kali Kalmashanashanam, it destroys the effects of Kali Yuga. So that means it's the Kali Yuga Avatara. Nata Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshu. The entire Vedas, if you study properly, in Kali Yuga there is no other process than to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. That is the Kali Yuga Dharma. That is how we understand. So it is given in the Upanishads itself. And references to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are there in Mahabharata. It is there in other Upanishads like Chaitanya Upanishad and other places also. But Bhagavatam is very, very clear. Bhagavatam is very clearly described Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopastram and then Tektva Sudhistya Sure Chitarajya Lakshmi. All these activities very clearly indicate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is no doubt about that. So what more do you need? Highly, clear thing it has been revealed. But because he is Channa Avatara, therefore in the Vedic scriptures also it is revealed only in the confidential parts. It's not described in great detail everywhere. Other incarnations like Lord Rama, Krishna, you will find descriptions in various other places also. Other Puranas also you will find in Mahabharata also, Ramayana also. These are all very popular amongst all the people, and they all know that these are the Supreme Lord Himself. But when it comes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, only very confidential places it is revealed that he is Krishna himself. Why? Because it is Krishna's choice that he wants to be a Channa Avatara. He doesn't want anybody and everybody to know that he is the Yuga Avatara for Kali Yuga. Therefore, it is described only in the confidential portions. And those who take shelter of a Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya like Srila Prabhupada, only they can know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Yuga Avatara for Kali Yuga. Otherwise, you go to any other Sampradaya, you will not be able to understand. Maximum you will think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is some great saint, some great Acharya he is. That's all. You cannot understand more than that. If you want to really understand if that Channa Avatara has to become Achanna, his covering has to be removed, then that has to be done by a great pure devotee, Uttamadhikari Vaishnava like Srila Prabhupada. Is that okay? We'll stop here. Granthara Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.